morning. It is 10:30. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Sherry Schweitzo, Director of Financial Services here at Regency Oaks. A lot of new faces over the last year, and this is probably your first presentation. I've been with Regency Oaks 8 years, and it's been a blessing and an honor. So today's topic, as you can see, is we're going to talk about your annual monthly service fee rate increase. And based on your contract, there are some older ones and that go up September 1st, and I did a presentation back over the summer, and those folks received a letter and an invitation. And anybody's able to attend, obviously, but if you received your increase in September and you're here today, please know that you will not be getting another increase, okay? It's just once, and some folks don't always know that. So your contract states every year, January 1st, and based on your contract verbiage, it is the most recent published consumer price index plus up to an additional 2%. And so today's presentation is going to explain those numbers to you so that you feel comfortable knowing where your monthly service fee goes here at Regency Oaks. So at Regency Oaks, we are a for-profit entity, and we are owned by Healthpeak, who is publicly traded. So we have 3 core constituents that we are responsible for. You and your family, number 1. Our employees, we have to pay a fair wage, retain them, train them, and provide good benefits for them. And our shareholders. So people that buy stock want to earn dividends, and that's where Healthpeak comes in and provide us guidance on being a profitable business and providing you with good quality, high standard of amenities and care. So all 3 of those things have to be in balance to be a well-oiled, high-end retirement community that you're living in right now. So monthly service fees are the basis upon which the purpose and goals of each community are fulfilled. So your monthly service fee goes for food, maintenance, utilities, taxes, everything that I talk about on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis now at Forum, where I talk about our controllable expenses and our non-controllable expenses. And what we've done in the past 2 months is outline a budget based on inflation factors for the next coming year. And that also drives your monthly service fee increase. So, why does it go up every year? So we know standard inflation, consumer price index, is where CPI, we'll call that CPI, measures the change in prices paid for consumer goods year over year and reflects spending patterns. So CPI table that we look at, we don't look at last month's, but we look at last year to this year. And I'm going to show you some more details explaining our inflation costs. So one thing that is not part of CPI, because CPI just is our market basket of goods that bring food to the door. It does not include labor. And labor is the largest percentage of expenses in our budget. So general CPI is not covering my additional expense, the community's additional expense, to pay for employees, to retain them, provide them with good benefits. Okay? So labor is above and beyond CPI. So the table that your percentage comes from, and the consumer price index is nationwide, and there's different metro areas that have different inflation factors. So the table I use is the consumer price index. The most recent one published was for September. That came out October 11th. Okay, so we're looking at September over September. It's the most recent available that provides me with the numbers to be able to present to you 60 days in advance, which is required. You're required to speak to you with a presentation and provide you with a 60-day notice with exact figures on what your increase is going to be. So CPI, for all urban consumers, this is where you get into metro areas, it's the US city average South size Class A. So that year-over-year percentage rate was 2.2% over last year, okay? So that's the first number in calculating your annual monthly service fee increase, CPI, and then up to 2%. Up to 2% additional to pass along our other costs. So, again, this is only for folks that get a January 1st increase, not September 1st. So it's not to be greater than the sum of CPI for the rate we just talked about, plus up to 2.2. So as I just mentioned, CPI is 2.2%. As a result of higher inflation experienced year over year by the community, I'll give you some more detail on that on the next slide, which is greater than CPI, we're going to utilize that additional 2%. So your monthly service fee increase, January 1st, is going up 4.2%. Okay, so here's a little bit of data behind where these numbers come from. You can see that I'm looking at Q3 year over year. I wanted to be able to give you some current data, not just year-end data. So we see that our food costs we know food and groceries have been going up consistently, but then we also have to prepare the food and serve the food. And so my year over year for Q3, my inflation is 7.4%. And 8% of food costs is part of the whole budget. We look at our insurance. Luckily, the inflation is down to only 1.8%. However, that's 6% of my annual budget expenses. We look at utilities. We had some savings in utilities, although the electric company just increased 3%. But we have input into place some economical savings with our lighting and things like that. So while quarter to quarter it's going to go down, probably going to still see a very small increase in the next year. That's 7% of the budget. Property taxes, 3.8%. That's 3% of our budget. And then let's get into the wages. So this is where I said earlier, the CPI does not cover the cost of labor. So we have hourly positions that have gone up 3.7%. We have salaried positions that went up 5%. And then our benefits have gone up 2.4%. We have to make sure that we are competitive in the workforce in this metro area to attract and retain good employees. Now, for you folks that have been here this first year, 3 years ago, we chose to move up minimum wage because Florida is higher than the federal government, and in 2026, it's a minimum of $15 an hour for the state of Florida. Well, a lot of other companies, nursing homes and hospitals were already doing that 3 years ago. So that's what we did do. We did that 3 years ago to attract and retain so that we're ahead of minimum wage. And in that year, as people stay longer, then they get a merit increase. And we want to still keep them well above minimum wage. It's very expensive, rent and housing and things like that. So this is a good thing. We were able to incorporate that in our budget 3 years ago. We're able to continue to do that and continue to offer merit increases that are hopefully targeted above the normal inflation rate, okay? This will just help retain our employees. And then our other non-wage expenses, these are the ones that I talked about in the forum, just our normal supplies, whatever our department managers are budgeted. Some of that went as high as 11.3% year over year. You know, chemicals and food, paper products, just a much higher inflation. So our community inflation rate, so if I took all of that, is 4.8%. I'm increasing your monthly service fee 4.2. What do I do with the difference? Well, we work with our management company and our owners to adjust our margin, to incorporate savings anywhere that we can, and that's always a focus. It's the only way to be profitable and manage your expenses is always looking for ways to economize your spend. Okay? So just briefly how our budget process starts, because we do start it before we know this exact figure. And we just start by inputting our current revenue figures, our projections, our up to Q3, what our inflation factor was for our expenses. Then we continue to factor in labor. We want to make sure that we're paying equitable wages for the same position in another company. We don't want to underpay, so we'll do a wage analysis from corporate to say, okay, this position should be here, and we look at all of that so that we can, again, retain our employees. We look at our non-controllable costs, which, you know, our department manager, directors here do a very good managing to their budget. And then, you know, we need to know how much is gonna be, how much we may have to reinvest back in the business through capital. So that's an even larger budget that does not impact your monthly service fee. It's below the line, we call it. It's not an operating expense. Your monthly service fee is operating revenue. So, but we still need cash to infuse to improve our property, okay? And so that's where we will balance the mission to provide you with the best care, the best place to live, continue to, you know, there's always areas to improve, and that's what we strive for. And then we're still meeting our margin for our owners because it's a publicly traded company, and that's even more pressure to be profitable. So, we ask you to continue to partner with us. We work together as a team with our management company. We look for ways to be more efficient in our spending and make sure we're not doing any wasteful spending. We do ask you, you are our eyes and ears in this community. You have 426 people just in independent living alone. You may see at the end of the hallway that a light bulb's out or something is amiss. Be our eyes and ears, be proactive, put a work order in. We don't want you to go by that area that might not be up to snuff, but count on you to help us make sure the community stays in tip-top shape. So we have resident committees. You know that we have department director meetings. You know, you have food, you have housekeeping, you have maintenance to express your concerns. Any type of work order, go to the front desk. Don't assume somebody else has put in a work order, okay? I don't want you to be frustrated looking at that light bulb that's been out for 3 weeks. We might not know, so. You know, you are our greatest resource. You have ownership here. You know, you have skin in the game, and you make our community great, and we want to be greater. So thank you. And then one thing all of you can do is refer a friend. Refer a friend to move in here, and we pay you a referral fee. You know, the higher our occupancy, the smoother expenses, revenue, it all kind of flows, you know, and we want to get up to 95% in the next 2 years. We're at 91, which is very good, but we're going to strive for that. And I put that request out to you all to talk to marketing and refer a friend, you know. It may take a year or two to, you know, think through the process that you all went through. It's a process, but expose them here. We'd love to get them here, have them stay. Let's just put referrals out there, and I'll send you a check. So that's the presentation. 4.2% is going to be your increase. I will send a letter out by the end of this week. It's going to have your current monthly service fee. I'm going to tell you exactly how many dollars and cents it's going up, and then we'll list the new monthly service fee. And that will go into effect January 1st. Okay? Any questions?
Sherry, thank you for everything you do. There's Health Peak, and then there's LCS. So
Yes.
where's LCS fit into the Health Peak piece?
So LCS is our management company. And in healthcare, that's standard. You have an outside management company to provide assistance for the communities. And since there's 13 in the Peak portfolio, I think there's 14 now, LCS manages those. They have a contract with Health Peak, and they earn their money. Usually in healthcare, it's based on revenue. Revenue drives their, and that's an operating line item in our budget. So 5% of revenues is a good figure. But the management company provides us back office accounting, high level accounting. You know, they provide just a key leader in each department. So we have a regional food and beverage person, a regional EBS, a lot of support for the health center to make sure that we're operating the guidelines, maximizing our revenue over there. And so they are a big support system for us to be able to run the community and make it profitable. So it is part of the budget, and it's a standard thing that happens in healthcare is management companies.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
The referral fee that you talk about is made when somebody moves in, not just by referral.
Correct. Thank you. So just to clarify that, you will get paid your referral fee when the resident physically moves in. Mr. Portillo in the back, and then we'll get to you, sir.
Just a question. There's multiple facilities, is that correct? Which is what, 13?
Owned by Health Peak, yes.
Yeah. Now, are they all run basically the same, with the same efficiency, or is one carrying,
So the contract,
one carrying a bad one?
so we stand alone. We stand alone in our profitability. We have a good census occupancy. So some of the other communities might not have as good of a census, and so yes, their bottom line is not going to be as favorable, but that's all a roll up to Health Peak. It is not impactful here individually to us.
But when they go on the stock market, they're all combined.
Correct. So like Health Peak owns a lot of other types of businesses, medical buildings, building and renting. The senior housing industry is only about 10% of Health Peak's portfolio. And so they have a lot of other factors. And if you're ever interested, Health Peak has their quarterly calls, all kinds of information, and anybody can sign up for them, and you just call in and listen to their quarterly calls. And they'll speak to they'll speak to the CCRC division and what their goals are and cash flow and things like that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that if this is facilities running at peak efficiency and the others, another one may not be.
No, we are not responsible for that. We keep our financials here. Now, Peak can and has in the past infused more cash into capital, which is what we like. And that's because their other businesses are giving them cash flow to infuse into this particular division. And again, it's not part of our operating statement. It's part of our financials, it's just not part of the operating budget, which is part of the monthly service fee. Just mention.
Thank you for allowing us to share this presentation. I have two questions. Does LCS report to Regency Oaks or to Health Peak? That's number one. Number two, do you have figures for the monthly or quarterly or annual profitability for Regency Oaks as a unit to Health Peak?
Who do they report to?
Oh, yes. So LCS does report to Health Peak directly. I mean, they work for us or they support us, but they have their own separate contract management agreement. And so they do report directly to Peak and support us. I do have financial statements. We'll update those in the library. Forum is in a week after next, I believe. That's when I'll do the next quarterly financial review. Always in the library is one of the most recent financial statements. I'll also put a copy of this if you want in the library book. Okay, but full transparency here. I meet with a finance committee of residents every single month, and we go into detail every single month for the current month's financial reportings. Yes, sir.
Yes, I was wondering about the roofs. How often do they get replaced, and where does that money come from? Does that come from LCS or?
No, so if Health Peak provides the cash, and the roofs are part of the capital expense. So again, it's not operating, it goes below the line, and we need Peak to provide us with the money to do that. So it does not impact your percentage, or the data that I'm providing to you for your monthly service fee. This is the operating budget. Capital expenses, depreciation, things like that go further down on the financial statement.
Hi, my name is Betsy, and we have been here since June of this year, and love it, absolutely love it.
Good news.
Just a question of the,
Okay, is that better?
that's much better. Wondering how you divide or decide, is probably the better word you use, on using this 4.2% increase, because we are hearing that a lot of the residents have had a lot of maintenance problems, and some of them have been here longer than a year, etc. And people who receive attention are happy residents. So when it comes to, and I think that the employee fund is excellent. I'm retired open heart nursing, so I understand that. And I also understand about the scholarship fund, which I think is outstanding. The thing that still puzzles us is you've got so many people who are trying to fill those 109 work orders that aren't completed, but the existing staff does not seem to be able to do that in maybe an orderly fashion or even to complete them. So how are you going to increase the amount of employment that you do have in order to try to make those residents not as happy as they can be, but nobody can please all the time. But,
Exactly,
you know,
exactly.
and
I understood. So, a couple things. The maintenance department has had a few openings. We have approved positions that I think we still probably have one opening. So the goal is to get fully staffed to help turn those work orders over. Darwin is the director. He reports to Lindsay, the executive director, and they look at how many open work orders, how many closed, how long are they average open, length of open, and when they were completed. That data I don't have, but I think to answer your question, we need to get the department fully staffed. And we do hire outside contractors. We don't always have the full skill set to be able to pay someone here all the time. So part of the budget is bringing in outside companies that specialize in the needs that we have. So we have a very healthy budget for that. A lot of it is capital, so it's going to be a little bit different line item. And then he spoke about the employee gift fund. That is solely run by the residents. Regency Oaks does not have any involvement with that because it's not part of our financials, and so it's not our business, technically. Same with the scholarship fund. It is also run by residents, but we did pay for them to be a not-for-profit, a 501c3, so that you make donations and you are eligible as a tax benefit. So again, run by residents. And thank you for both of those committees for our employees. It is a great benefit that we promote when we're hiring and recruiting.
Sherry,
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to go back to the question that you had earlier about the different communities
Okay.
owned by Health Peak. Last week, 4 of us were at the Flightwear Conference, the annual conference.
Okay.
There was 5 properties out of the 9 that were present there, and the figure that was discussed was the increase, and they all were in the high 3s, low 4s, just to let you know that.
Okay, and that's where operating separate entities, and that's why I provided you the data for this community. And there are so many different variables in all of the other properties, size, different size skilled nursing. It's a very individualized budget per each community, and it will fluctuate. Just like when you get your medical expense deduction letter, it's not the same for every community. It will change year over year based on my operating expenses, and it's not the same for any other CCRC ever. It's strictly for Regency Oaks.
Thank you. Sherry, good presentation. My question is on the budgeting process. As I understand it, the department heads make their own budget and send them in. I think sometimes there's a tendency to add a little fat in there, and I'm wondering if there's a review process, some type of review process.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, I sit down originally with the department heads. We speak to vendors, we get an idea of what to expect on increase of prices, and then we collectively sit down with management and LCS. So we have to present to LCS, and it's line by line. It's like, we can't get away with too much fat, because if I want to put a 5% increase on food, but inflation's only 4.2, it's just going to eat away at my bottom line, and Peak is not going to allow that. They're going to say, no, you can't pad it. Okay.
Thank you.
Are both of the funds for the employees and the one for the student scholarships, are they both 501s?
No, they are not. The employee gift fund is not. Only the scholarship fund. And Regency Oaks does offer tuition reimbursement to our employees as well. So year over year, we try to add a nice cafeteria plan of benefits and options, and we feel like we're doing a good job with that. We're currently in the middle of an employee survey, so we're waiting to see those results. So we do those in alternating years to a resident survey. And so we want to do better all the way around. Okay. So thank you for coming today. Please call me if you want to sit down and talk about anything individually, one-on-one, at any time, okay? And if there's any rumors going around, let me know and I'll set everything straight. No rumors. Thank you.